Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Wrestling Inc. News and Note Show. And we got ratings talk, we've got PLE talk, we've got Revolution talk, and so much more. I'm Jack Farmer, being joined by the guy I still call the boss man, Raj Giri. Raj, how are you?
We even got some football talk this week.
We do got football talk, and it's not about the Super Bowl. Did you enjoy the Super Bowl, though? I know you're like you follow football, but you're not all in, right?
I watch it all season. I'm a big I'm a Broncos fan. You know,
oh, okay,
they're my team, but yeah, I probably couldn't name more than 4 or 5 guys on each team.
Yeah,
but or some teams probably less than that. But I do follow it. I'm in a fantasy league. I haven't come in last place yet, so.
that's the important thing.
All right.
I always say in fantasy football, I've got the middle of the pack on lock. Like that's me, right in the middle of the. I think maybe I'm thinking of hockey. You were at a game recently, and you said you didn't know what was going on. But
that was the NBA. I was at a Nuggets game like a week and a half ago. And I mean, you can figure it out. I just don't know what the standings are. Like who, I didn't realize the Nuggets are so good this season. So that just blew me away. And yeah.
You guys, by the way, back to football, you guys are going to be good next year, I think, the Broncos. I still believe in Russell Wilson, and you guys got, what's his name at head coach?
Peyton.
Peyton, that's
yeah.
Nothing like getting called, what's his name? But I got a feeling you guys are going to do pretty well next season with all that. But the people who are joining us, forget next season. Let's talk about the people who are with us right now. If you could do us a favor, like, comment, share, subscribe, 5-star review, all that good stuff. Of course, this is we're on a little bit of a push here. We're trying to see what we can do with the metrics and the numbers and the spreadsheets, and all those little likes and things really help out. So if you're in the chat, whether it's Tornado Anthony Y, Nadir, Joey, we got Gluten Free, Tommy O, everyone in the chat, thanks for joining us. Is it Rayan Mohammed? Let me know if I'm saying that right. Appreciate you guys being here and joining us. Raj, you want to get?
I was going to say, sorry we weren't able to do this last week. I was traveling. I was in Florida, but we're hoping to do this every Thursday at 6 Eastern.
You're in Florida. Were you rubbing elbows with Triple H and HBK and
of course
and everyone over there? You guys just hanging out? Did you have a tryout? Are you going to compete?
No, I wish it was that exciting. We was in Tampa, just looking at some investments out there, and then for the weekend we had some more friends come out and did our golf trip. We're supposed to do a golf trip last November, didn't happen, so.
Sure. You're going to be the guy that beats Braun Breaker. Okay, I get it. I want to talk to you. Speaking of going down to Florida and speaking of all that NXT stuff, we got some ratings news in today, not just for NXT, but for Dynamite as well. And the numbers are pretty interesting. WrestleNomics is reporting that AEW Dynamite came in this week with 824,000 viewers at 0.27, and NXT came in with 640,000 viewers with a 0.15. Sorry, those 0.27, 0.15 are those that special demo that everyone that is focusing on.
Right.
And to put that into a little bit of perspective, WrestleNomics also reported MLW Underground on Reels with 73,000 viewers and a 0.02 in that rating. So I feel like this is great news for NXT, scary news for AEW.
Well, NXT, their numbers are a lot lower than AEW, but it is the C brand show. It's developmental. There's 640,000. It was up 14%. It was the best number they've done in over a month since January 10th. The 0.15, also the best since that day. And that episode was the New Year's Evil episode. So from what they've been doing, they were up. Dynamite, like you mentioned, 824,000, a 0.27. That 824,000 is their worst number since early or mid-November. And that 0.27, the demo rating, that you always hear Tony Khan talk about how important that demo rating is, and that's the lowest. That's the third lowest they've done since NXT moved to Tuesday nights. So in their time slot. So and not a good ratings week for AEW, but we'll see. I always feel like you can't go off of 1 week. You can't go off of one number. They've had bad numbers in the past for what they do, of course, and we'll see.
It's very, I agree. I'm not typically into the ratings that much, but this does seem to be a bad trend. Trends, I think, are interesting.
Yeah.
Rampage seems to be going down. AEW Dynamite seems to be going down, and I don't like to pick on any company, but I have to confess, Raj, going into this week, I was thinking that it might be a bit of a struggle because I look at the matchups, and these are all great wrestlers. I'm going to say, I'm not saying anyone's bad or anything like that, but when I tell you that John Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli are going to face off against Roosh, who I can't remember his last win, and Preston Vance, I can't remember his last match, I know how that one's going to turn out,
Right. Yeah, it's not a hot ticket.
Yeah, Adam Page, a former champion, against Kip Sabian, who, again, I think has been on TV once, and it was on Rampage over the past year or so. I know how that's going. Brian Cage versus Jungle Boy could be great, but I think Brian Cage has won one match in the past year and a half on TV.
On Dynamite, yeah.
Yeah, Mark Briscoe, obviously a feel-good story against Josh Woods, another guy who's never won as long as I can remember. Orange Cassidy and the Acclaimed versus, Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Sanjay. That doesn't scream can't miss match. And then the only one that I think had any interest is Tony Storm, Ruby Soho, Britt Baker. But I feel like that's a lot of matches where you probably don't need to tune in. And that's the whole show. I could see it. If I see that's the show and they advertise it, I feel like, oh, this doesn't look like something I need to see.
Yeah, I feel like the general consensus with last night's show was, and it didn't end up delivering overall either. It wasn't. Sometimes you'll have I remember back in the day, WWE would have those really weak pay-per-view lineups that with no build, that they decide to build at the last minute, and then they turn out to be great. Like they just all the matches over delivered. This was one of those shows that didn't deliver. Again, you can't take 1 week, but there is a trend. You look at the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 weeks, and they're down over double digits in the 18 to 49 with the 18 to 49 rating. So that's a pretty big drop year to year. And I think, look, I know people get mad if you try to point out what might be missing and what can be worked on, but I do feel like the stories haven't been as strong. MJF, they had him get the big win, and instead of coming up with something new for him, this feud with Bryan Danielson is the same storyline that they've done in the past, where so-and-so has to beat these guys to get a shot at them. And I just feel like it doesn't feel new right now.
I feel like I'm about to say something that is like a dirty word in pro wrestling on TV, for these podcasts. But I look at AEW and I think they need writers. I think they need, I know everyone said, they look at how WWE was and they complain about the writers and all that stuff, but you're right. I feel like there's no, I don't know what the story is on AEW that I'm waiting for, outside of these are two good wrestlers. But if that's everybody, and if the outcomes are predetermined, it's not really that interesting,
Yeah, and they do have storylines, but I feel a lot of them are redundant. It's your partner turning on you. they just need something fresh. And I kind of agree with you. I'm not saying you have 30 writers or anything like that, but just having people that can plot out where certain storylines are going, because so many just seem to be disappear or not really get followed up on. And just maybe kind of get the creative side a little more in tune, because they've got the talent. I love the look of the show. The crowds are hot every week. It makes it so easy to watch, but the storytelling, I think, has been lacking a little bit, and really making some of these characters a little larger than life.
Yeah, I agree. I think again, they've got the talent. It's just a matter of, I think, something, I guess, with WWE and the Bloodline storyline and everything, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. The reason it's compelling is it's a great story that's being told, and you want to see what happens next. Where at this point, I don't really know what the story is with Jon Moxley and Adam Page, other than they're two wrestlers that want to win a fight.
You mean Danielson?
Adam Page,
no,
Moxley,
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I thought you said MJF. Yes,
but,
you're right.
Moxley
and Adam Page.
Yeah, and really the MJF one, like you said, it's kind of the same story we've seen already.
Yeah,
I mean they'll have a great match, but it might as well just be two random guys thrown together at that point. It doesn't really matter who it is,
Yeah, and I think the strongest part of the MJF Danielson storyline was William Regal, but they made him kind of the catalyst for the storyline when he's leaving. So that was, and now it's just the same gauntlet stuff. So I agree with you. I just feel like, and look, I think Samoa Joe, Wardlow, I think I like that, what they did last night with that angle, with that Wardlow sit-down interview. But at the same time, Wardlow was on fire last year, and he seemed like he was going to be the top guy, and he got cooled down. It seemed like they didn't know how to raise him to superstar level.
Yeah, they got him all the way there and then just couldn't get him over that peak. Let's talk about this show coming up. Let's talk about Revolution. Some matches have been locked in. We'll start, obviously, MJF, Bryan Danielson, 60-man Iron Man match. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that going into it, but I feel like this is MJF's first defense. There's no way MJF's going to lose that. We won't go through and predict everything, but also as a fan, I'm thinking he's not going to lose his first defense, so I got to watch 60 minutes of a match that I know is going to end with MJF winning. Like this, you know what I mean? Like
So I personally am not a fan of Iron Man matches, and I've gotten blasted on Twitter before, but I didn't think the Bret Hart Shawn Michaels WrestleMania match was that great. I thought the last 15 minutes were, but the rest I thought was kind of, the first half hour I thought was pretty dull for Bret and Shawn, for what you go in expecting. And I thought just a regular match with them would be good. And with Iron Man matches, I think one of the reasons I don't like real sports or outside of football is when I watch an NBA game or a hockey game, I don't really care until the last 5 minutes, because for the most part it's you score, I score, at least with basketball a lot. And so and with the Iron Man match, not to care until the last 5 minutes. So and you got to sit there for an hour. I'm not a fan of Iron Man matches. This I just felt like with MJF taking out his mentor, it should have been something more, I don't know, more like, I don't know, like a dog collar match or something, something where you really want to hurt the other guy, as opposed to we're going to have a great match for an hour.
Right. It's because they're not about, I don't know. I also agree with you. I think Iron Man matches get a little stale. They're up there with last man standing matches, where you end up really getting people standing there and sort of waiting and killing time for most of the match. And, but I guess again, we kind of talked about Jon Moxley, Adam Page. It's really just two guys that want to win a fight. They'll be bloody, but I see that every Wednesday. So I don't know if that really matters to me.
One thing, and I don't know if this is by design, because their pay-per-view numbers haven't gone up since, CM Punk came in. That first, there was a huge spike, and then it dropped. They're still above where they were before Punk, but they've been dropping. Each one has been dropping since. And it just feels like they don't announce many matches until like the last week or two. We got 4 matches announced. We only have 1 more Dynamite left. Whereas before, Cody versus Dustin, they did months of build. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And, and I guess that's kind of how, like, the other 2 matches on here are the Guns versus the Acclaimed tag team, everybody involved tag team match. Again, Acclaimed feels like they were one of the most popular acts in wrestling. And then it just feels so odd that they say, let's pair them up with an act that, with all due respect to the Guns, is not a hot act in pro wrestling. It seemed like that was your time. Like, I feel like the smart thing to do, and I'm not a booker, would be you take the hot act, put them against the hot act, and you get a really hot show, instead of let's take the guys that lose all the time and put them against the guys who are the hottest thing in wrestling. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, and I don't want to over criticize, but Kenny Omega is like maybe their number 2 guy, maybe number 3. You can make an argument that he's number 1, and he came back, and there's been like no real big interview, he's just in these trios matches, and I don't know, I just don't get it, and I feel like him being in the trios is just a bad spot business wise for him. And the Young Bucks versus the Acclaimed, I feel like that should be. I feel like the Acclaimed need an established team to kind of get them from being an entertaining act to a really top level act, whether it's FTR, like a real long feud with FTR. And granted, they're gone right now, but yeah, the Bucks would have been the right move, in my opinion.
Yeah. What's up, Justine? We got, but yeah, I agree. And then Samoa Joe, Wardlow, I think that'll be a classic, great match. But also, it feels like, I feel like this rivalry ended 2 months ago, and I know Wardlow is hurt, but it also feels like, which also it looks like we'll get Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy again, another one that feels like it ended 2 months ago. Well, I don't know why we're revisiting it, but I didn't expect to go into Revolution this much, but just, I guess, after the ratings and that discussion, it's kind of like, and I should say, I love AEW, by the way. I'm a huge, I was a day one AEW guy, super into it. It's just, I don't get what they're doing.
And they're repeating a lot of stuff. You mentioned Jungle Boy and Christian, whereas one of the things early on with AEW is they never repeated matches. Like, even when they should have, like FTR and the Young Bucks for a while, they didn't until, for a while. And now they do it all the time.
Yeah, just totally drug. I know I like Christian Cage, but I was like, he came back and attacked Jungle Boy. I was like, didn't this rivalry start when we were first coming out of the pandemic? Like, what are we doing? Why are these guys still? And it's the same Jungle Boy. It's not like he's evolved into a different person. I don't know what we're doing here, but
yeah.
Sorry, I know I'm ranting against AEW. Usually I'm very positive, but the past few months I've been like, what are we?
Just need some cohesion. Tony Khan has so much on his plate that maybe it's one of those things where it's time to, what's the word?
Get someone
assign
outsourced.
Yeah. Gosh, all right, forget it. My vocabulary is going downhill.
Well, speaking of vocabulary, there was a meeting at AEW. Fightful Select reported that a backstage summit occurred at the February 8th Dynamite to repair some damage done last year between Thunder Rosa and members of the roster. Those women who were present at the tapings participated, and Thunder Rosa did work the tapings as a Spanish commentary person for El Paso. And sources claim that Rosa attempted to mend the fences during the conference as it relates to a number of issues that arose prior to her being sidelined, and was said to have been productive and perhaps a clean slate moving forward. We talk about stars and things like that. Thunder Rosa, I feel like, is a star. I think she's someone that jumps off the screen. I don't really know the details of what was going on backstage with her, but I think it's good that she's back, and it's good that they addressed the elephant in the room.
Yeah, I think it's good you hear about these backstage beefs that happen, and I think it's good that they nip it in the bud, because you don't want it to grow and grow and grow. We've already seen what happened with Punk and Paige and how that ended up.
Yes. Oh, did you have a comment about one of these?
Yeah, real quick. Ryan W. Jonathan Lyman Band, stay mad elves. He'll delegate. That's what I was looking for, the word. Thank you. Delegate some creative duties.
Yeah, so but I agree. I think something it's interesting. Like so David Marquez, he runs United Wrestling Network, and he also worked at NWA for a long time, been in pro wrestling for a long time, and he was doing a Q&A session online one time, and he was saying he's not the booker for his promotions. He always hires a booker. And he said, and this had nothing to do with AEW, but just he was saying he usually finds that bookers will come in, they're great, lots of hot stories, and then about 3 years in, things get stale and start, the wheels start coming off. And he said that, again, nothing to do with AEW, but I did start thinking it does kind of feel like about 3 years into AEW is when things started to feel like it was getting a little clunky. And I wonder if there was I wonder if there's some relation to that. Like maybe just you need some fresh eyes and some fresh ideas come into it.
Well, I mean, the late Jerry Jarrett, he would, him and Jerry Lawler for a long time, they would switch off every 6 months just to kind of, refresh just refresh your mind and kind of get away from the creative for a bit and then come back strong. I think even with Vince, you'd see, it's strong for a few years, then there's a long lull, then it came back, and then there was another lull, and then a long lull.
Yeah. There was a long lull. Yeah.
But yeah, I totally could see that, and it's not like you're doing this at, you have a season off or something, it's week
Right.
after week after week, and it's got to be tough even when you got a team of writers.
Right. And I think it becomes tough to let go of certain things. Like this week, the Dark Order coming out to help Adam Page. I was thinking, are we still doing this? Like, is that still a thing? Like, let's just move on and like the Blackpool Combat Club is still like, Regal's gone. Why is it called Blackpool? Like, what is it? Like, anyways, I digress. I like AEW.
We wanted to get back to where it was, for sure. It's best to have two companies on the ascent. It's always the funnest. And, again, the hottest period was WWE, WCW, and they were both on the ascent when you think of 97, 98, those magical years. So, yeah.
We never knew how good we had it.
Right.
But speaking of WWE, it is time for the Elimination Chamber. It's coming up. We got one more show before we get to actual Elimination Chamber, but we're not going to do a show together between now and then. So I want to go through these matches and I want to get some predictions and thoughts. And everyone in the chat, I want you guys to give us your predictions and thoughts and hit the like, comment, share, subscribe button. But let us know what you're thinking as well. I want to start at the bottom of the card, work my way to the top. We're going to before we get in it, let's get Bear Hudson's super chat on here. We miss you on here, Raj. Do you think Jay White or is it Tama Tonga are both headed to WWE soon? If not, which of the two would you want?
I think they're both great. It does seem like that with Jay White especially, and I think. A year ago I would have said AEW, but I think right now they're just so stacked with talent and so many guys that aren't being used. You have the examples out there, like someone mentioned Lance Archer, Miro, all these people, and you'll see them on Rampage or Dark Elevation, but ultimately the show that counts is Dynamite, and that's the one that people are really watching. So right now I'd probably say WWE. They seem to be doing better creatively, and they are, one of my criticisms with WWE is they're bringing in these NXT talents that a lot of the fans don't really seem to be recognizing, but they're still using them and they're still getting featured. And so I think he would get more screen time on the main shows that way.
I also think there'd be a game plan for him over there where they would know what they're doing, as opposed to just saying, we've got this guy, let's have matches. I think they would have this is how we're going to roll him out and debut him, and this is our game plan with him, which I think if you're a wrestler, it's nice to know that there's a game plan as opposed to, yeah, we'll put you on the show.
Right.
Also, WWE is the bigger company, like with more access to things. I feel like if you can get paid more and get on more screens and everything else, that's the route you should probably go. But
yeah, and again, a year ago, I probably would have said the opposite. But
yeah, a year ago, I would have agreed with you because I'd have been like, I don't know if they're they're not going to have a plan for him. They're just going to put him out there.
It's funny because you hear Triple H getting, most of the credit for the booking, but the Cody stuff was all Vince, like him coming in, presenting him like a big star. And then some of it was accidental too. He got that injury, which that I felt like took him to the next level too. So
yeah. Vince deserves some booking credit sometimes. Sometimes I feel like we don't give him enough credit when he should get credit for booking stuff. But he also should get the negative stuff too.
Right.
But he's had some wins, he's had some good stuff. He approved all the CM Punk stuff everyone loved at the end of the day. So you got to give him some credit for that too. But in any case, let's start with Elimination Chamber. Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. This one, I am a big fan of the big meaty men slap and meat. I'm happy Bobby Lashley's getting his big time rivalry with Brock Lesnar. But Raj, how do you think this one goes down? Who's winning?
This is a loaded show with 5 matches. All couldn't go on last. I think Lashley, and then you do the big blow off match at WrestleMania. Like Lashley has Omos interfere, the Hurt Business gets back together, beat Lesnar, and then you get the return.
That's my thought. Is I want Omos to get involved, and I want Omos because I think the visual of Omos like slamming Brock would be incredible. I don't know what that makes WrestleMania's match, but I just think that would be absolutely visually cool. So I would say if I'm predicting, Brock wins via DQ is my prediction.
I mean, if you're gonna do a DQ, that would be the one to do it.
That one, you're right. This one, just about all of these could main event a regular show. A lot of people are saying no contest. Boo, no contest. You got to pick a winner.
Those aren't the rules. You got to pick a winner.
You got to pick a winner. Feet to the fire. Who do you have winning? Who did you say is going to win? Who's going to get the
I said Lashley.
Lashley? Okay.
Yeah.
Split so far on our predictions here.
I know.
Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. This one is one that if I'm going to give AEW a hard time, this is one I'm also like, are we still doing this?
Yeah.
Can we
just
move on from here?
It's been almost a year, right? Coming up by WrestleMania was when Judgment Day was, started or right after.
Yeah, and Judgment Day is so far removed from what it was with Edge. It almost feels irrelevant that they're having a match now. But in any case, I believe Finn Balor, Rhea Ripley get the win. If I don't really get what you do if Edge and Beth Phoenix win,
Well, the rumor was that they were going to do an Edge Finn Balor Hell in a Cell match, like at the Royal Rumble, and so, and obviously that was put on hold. So maybe it was to do this that leads to a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania, and having Finn go over there. So I do think Finn should come out on top of this at the end. So I almost think I'm going to split with you again. I'm going to go.
Ooh.
What happened on Raw this past Monday with Edge and Rhea?
Rhea took out Beth Phoenix, and then Edge chased him off.
Okay.
Her and Dom.
I'm gonna go Edge. I'm gonna go Edge and Beth Phoenix.
I kind of get why, but it feels a little weird that this is Finn and Rhea and not Dominic and Rhea. But from a logic standpoint, but at the same time, I don't want Dom to get in matches because I like that he's sort of untouchable as a cowardly heel. So I like it, but at the same time, kind of like that doesn't really make sense, does it?
Yeah.
But Then we get the Elimination Chamber for the United States Championship. Austin Theory versus Seth Rollins versus Montez Ford versus Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano versus Bronson Reed. First off, how do you feel about the U.S. title being decided in the Elimination Chamber?
I like it. It's different. And it opens up a whole lot of possibilities. I feel like outside of maybe Johnny Gargano, you can make a case for everyone. Maybe too soon for Bronson Reed as well, but you could easily make a case for Montez Ford, Damian Priest, Seth Rollins. So I like it.
So as far as our previous pick, most people are saying Judgment Day, though Baby Ice says babyface couples always win, so give it to Dom and Rhea.
I think Rhea pinning Beth Phoenix because she's gonna get the championship match at WrestleMania. So you know what? That's what I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Rhea pinning Beth Phoenix.
That would be a good move because then it continues to build her up for her match at WrestleMania. As far as the Elimination Chamber, I'm gonna say, I think Rhea pins Beth Phoenix. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
And it also keeps them safe from if they want to do Finn versus Edge, like not having one of them pin each other.
Yeah.
As far as the Elimination Chamber goes, I'm going to go Bronson Reed.
Whoa.
I think I'm going to go Bronson Reed here. I think maybe I'm overthinking it here, but I think Austin Theory is bound for something else at WrestleMania. Seth Rollins clearly seems that way. I feel like Damian Priest has so much with Judgment Day that he doesn't. I hate the phrase "doesn't need the title," but like he'll find himself in something or other. And then I could see Montez Ford winning it too to make a split happen. But I think I'm going to go Bronson Reed. I think they like what they see with him. I think he's going to get the dub.
I mean, he only came in recently and hasn't lost yet. Theory retains, but if they go with Theory and John Cena, I mean, they could have Theory beat John Cena. I'm going to say Theory retains because I feel like him and John Cena with the title on the line, it makes it that much bigger, and it makes it more important and feel like a bigger match. And I feel like John Cena needs to be, in as big a match as you could do, and with the younger talent. So, yeah, I'm going Theory retains.
That's a good pick too, because it would also give Cena a reason to be like, "Hey, I love the U.S. title. I wore it proudly, and I don't like what you're doing with it." And that's kind of their in to why that's happening. Baby Ice going with Montez Ford and Justine going with Damian Priest.
I mean, you could go ways with all those guys that would work. And Montez Ford, he's getting to that point where it's time for a singles run.
Yeah, I think Montez Ford seems like he's ready to pop as far as going that singles route. But I love this Elimination Chamber because every one of them I could see winning. And I love Elimination Chambers, by the way. I mean, they've been sort of in a place where they haven't been as interesting in years past, but I love the idea of it. I love elimination style matches, and Cage, I feel like this is just my overbooking Jack Farmer dream is an Elimination Chamber match.
A bunch of good possibilities where it's not obvious, where none of them are obvious.
Yeah.
So I like that too.
Yeah, it's not like Roman Reigns versus Tozawa versus Gulak versus
right.
Cool. And so Lance Davis saying people forget Cena first won his first U.S. championship at WrestleMania 20. So cool. Elimination Chamber for a shot at the Raw Women's Championship. Asuka versus Liv Morgan versus Nikki Cross versus Raquel Rodriguez versus Natalya versus Carmella. Does Bianca have a championship match between now and WrestleMania?
No. And I mean, I feel like the only one that feels like a WrestleMania match is, I mean, top three would be Asuka, Liv Morgan, and Raquel Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And Raquel adds, Asuka I think would be the best match. She's already over, but if you want to try to build someone new, probably Raquel. But I'm gonna go with Asuka. I feel like that's the better WrestleMania match. I feel like I feel like her and Bianca could tear it up. So
yeah, I think I agree with you. I'm gonna go Asuka with Raquel a close second. I think it's gonna come down to those two. But I think Asuka with the new look and the new whole thing, I think they're gonna do something with that, and I think that's why she did it. And I think that she could be the bad guy to the good guy, Bianca. And plus, I think Bianca has just been kind of slaying all the previous greats, it seems, at each WrestleMania, whether it be like Becky, or if this is Asuka, or did she beat Charlotte? Yeah, or who did she beat?
No, they haven't done her and Charlotte yet, right?
Did she beat Bayley? She beat Bayley then at a WrestleMania, right?
Yeah. She beat Becky last year.
No. I'm sorry. I'm thinking Sasha Banks. I haven't seen Sasha in a while, so I was like, she beat two of the horsewomen. Who was the other one?
Yeah.
So yeah, Sasha, then Becky, and then she beats Asuka. She's kind of running the gamut of all the greats that came before her.
Yeah, and she's beaten Bayley a couple times since WrestleMania. Yeah.
I was saying at WrestleMania. She's got to beat them all at WrestleMania. But then we've got the big one, and the one everyone's talking about, Raj. Undisputed WWE Universal Championship, Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn. And Raj, there's no, as a great poem once stated, there's no chance in hell that Sami Zayn wins this one.
Yeah, it's more about what the story will be after the match. Kevin Owens, I'm assuming he'd be coming back. Do they? But yes, Roman Reigns, of course. And then does Jey Uso? What does he do? Does he show up? Do the Usos not show up? So yeah, I mean, this is, they've left it open where there's so many different ways they could go with this, but I just feel like Sammy and KO against the Usos doesn't feel as big of a match to me as a singles match with Sammy at WrestleMania, but it makes it's so far seeming like where they're going, and it makes the most logical sense.
Yeah, I know a lot of people want to do like triple threats and split the titles and all this other stuff, but everything I've seen, I mean, it's going to be Cody versus Roman, all the gold on the line. Why would you split it? I feel like that's such a lame way to do it at WrestleMania. Maybe if he does it the next day, whatever, but at WrestleMania, I don't know. It feels like a halfway to do it. But
yeah, unless there's earlier that day, they're like, oh, this match is only going to be for the SmackDown title and not the Raw title. Then it's like, okay, maybe Sammy's winning. But I agree with you. I don't think it makes sense to split them, especially not at this point. It needs to be a bigger deal and not just a whim. And yeah, I think Cody versus Roman for both is the biggest match that they have right now, especially when you see the numbers that Cody's been doing.
If they were going to do because it felt right in the moment as far as who beats Roman Reigns, it would have been Drew McIntyre at Clash of the Castle. They'd have done it already. I don't think they're going to get this close to Mania and not give us what we're all waiting for. But I do think Sami Zayn has a near fall that blows the roof off of that place once he almost gets the win.
Oh, for sure.
He's going to have one of those moments where 2.999 and everyone's going to go nuts when he kicks out.
I'm sure the finish will be Sammy has Roman pinned and a referee gets knocked out or something,
right.
Yeah. And then the Usos do their thing. KO comes. I don't know. It's fantasy booking now.
Do you think Jay get involved? I know they have an issue with not going to Canada or other countries or something. I believe there is. I shouldn't say I know. I believe there is.
Yeah, there was, but Dave Meltzer reported recently that they're clear to go.
Oh, so they could be there. Because I was going to say maybe I wonder if the theories are Jey Uso is going to get involved and do something. Whether it be turn on Sammy or something, but I don't know.
That seems to be the obvious one, is Jey turning on Sammy, but I think it'd be really intriguing if he turned on Roman.
Me too. I agree. I think if I'm fantasy booking here, I have Cody win all the gold at WrestleMania, and then at whatever the next Backlash or whatever, that's the rematch of Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, and Jey Uso beats Roman Reigns, ends the bloodline, and then Reigns takes some time off until Mania or until SummerSlam or something, and becomes Brock Lesnar at that point.
I would assume that they do a rematch with Roman and Cody first, but I like the idea of Jey, because the fans are hot for him right now. It just seems like he'd go with it.
I'm telling you, if he, with no disrespect to Jimmy, if Jey didn't have a brother in pro wrestling that sort of puts you into a tag team situation,
right,
I think he'd be a singles star right now. I think he's been just every bit as good as I think Reigns and Sammy has been, as far as being on the mic and putting on great matches and all that stuff. Wouldn't surprise me if we saw Jimmy versus Jey at WrestleMania. That I could see that happening, but then I don't know what Sammy does.
You could do
Sammy Andre the Giant Battle Royale,
Solo Sikoa.
Yeah.
But what do you do with Kevin Owens?
Andre the Giant Battle Royal. he takes on the Jackass Crew this year.
So I'm assuming it's Usos versus KO and Sammy, but I like some of these other options.
I that's, if I was betting money on it, that's what I would say. But in any case, I think it's gonna be I'm really excited about this. What a great time it's been to be a WWE fan and a wrestling fan. Just crazy how good it's been.
WWE, they've been doing a really good job for a bit right now.
For about 6 months.
Pretty much.
Something about 6 months ago.
Yeah, what happened?
But again, to be fair to Vince started the bloodline. That was a Vince thing. So we got to give him some credit there too.
But the bloodline was meant to be a short-term thing and not well, at least Sammy with the bloodline was meant to be a short-term thing.
Well, I didn't say he gets all the credit. He gets some of the credit. Raj, good question, by the way, from Darius. Any news on the 2023 Hall of Fame class?
Not really. I mean, I would assume either Batista or The Rock. If they can get The Rock, I'm sure he would be the one. Otherwise, Batista. It's LA. They're both movie stars. And Batista was supposed to go in a couple years ago, but because of the pandemic, he didn't get in. So, one of them. I'm assuming. I don't know.
Yeah. M. Rouse in the house saying, what about Jay White shows up at WrestleMania and attacked Cody at the end of WrestleMania Night 2? I would say that if Finn Balor and Cody Rhodes is going to get done on a random Raw, then I don't think they're going to treat Jay White as that kind of pickup.
Yeah, a very small percentage of the WWE audience knows who Jay White is. So you would have to build him up. I mean, when you see they don't know who a lot of these NXT guys are, and NXT has a much larger audience in the US than New Japan.
And again, for everyone who gets crabby, we're not saying he can't be a big name in WWE or he's not. It's just to throw him out there at the end of WrestleMania, at the end of what will probably be one of the biggest wins of all time, if Cody does get the win, doesn't quite feel like the spot for him.
Yeah. I mean, have they ever even done that where they bring in a new guy at the end of WrestleMania?
I don't think they have.
They brought back guys like Ultimate Warrior.
The closest it would be like the Money in the Bank cash in, but that wasn't a new person returning. That was
right. Yeah.
I guess as far as like a surprise thing at the very, very end of WrestleMania, that would be the closest.
But but that was Seth Rollins. But yeah, yeah.
I don't think that'll happen. But let's talk about XFL. Are you excited about it? You just talked about how you're a huge football fan.
Yeah. I think the problem with these 18 leagues is it's hard to get behind a team, unless you live in one of those markets. So then that already brings down the number of markets. With the NFL, you have 32 plus you have superstars. So even if you live in New Mexico, you could be like, I'm a Tom Brady fan. I go where he goes, or Aaron Rodgers. XFL doesn't have superstars. So I think these 18 leagues are going to be tough, but I'm going to watch and hopefully it works out because,
yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I haven't given it a lot of my time in the past. I mean, I watched it back when it first came out. I watched a few games and it was terrible, so I stopped watching. And then this last time around, I didn't really give it a watch. This time, I think I'm going to give it a try. I haven't seen a lot of advertisements for it though. Like I keep forgetting that it's this weekend.
Yeah. This weekend, it's week 1 starts Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern with the Vegas Vipers and the Arlington Renegades. Then at 8:30, and that's on ABC. And then at night, it's going to be on ESPN FX. It's Orlando Guardians versus the Houston Roughnecks. So, and then Sunday, you got 2 games as well. Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen much about it at all. And, these leagues often start off well just from, just from
curiosity,
regular internet curiosity and stuff like that. And then drop a lot. What was the one, not USFL, because that's still around, but the one before that, it was AFL, maybe something like that.
Yeah, there was not the, not are you talking about arena football or
no, they were.
And then there's the Canadian League, but then what was the other one? It was
like a few years. I think they had a 1-year head start on the XFL, and then I don't believe they lasted the season. So it was something like the AFL, but yeah. So it's tough. There's been no successes yet.
Because at the end of the day, these guys got to be good at football is the thing, I think, for a lot of people. And so, because that's what turned me off about it the first time around, is I watched and I was like, these guys aren't very good at football. I mean, they're better than me, but that's not saying much. And so hopefully they've got some teams that are at least entertaining to watch. And
you need to get some personalities because, again, I feel like watching good football for the sake of football only matters if you're betting on the games,
Yeah. And it's tough after going through a whole season of NFL. And if you're really into football, you're watching college games and then to continue.
Right.
There's got to be something that keeps you intrigued. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm a little worried about the fact that, like I said, I haven't really seen advertisements for it. I haven't seen billboards. I haven't seen, consider I'm watching, you would think they would advertise a ton during pro wrestling. You would think that they'd advertise more on like ESPN and stuff. I just feel like I haven't seen it that much. Advertisements outside of a few people retweeting new jerseys for the Sea Dragons,
Right.
But
yeah. Real quick. Sorry.
No.
Darius Malsiski saying the one with Ebersol's son, and yes, Dick Ebersol, his son had started the league. He did an XFL documentary with Vince, and then decided to start it up. So AAF, that's what it was. All right.
The Alliance of American Football. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah. And Tut Graf saying, I've seen some stuff on ESPN, but it's pretty sparse. I mean, I'm just thinking if you're launching a football league, I feel like it'd be everywhere. I see Avatar trailers more than I see the XFL stuff. And I feel like you would have very specific marketing for that. That would be a slam dunk. But
yeah, especially since they're on ESPN, ABC, you would think there would be more. But yeah. We'll see. It'll be interesting. I'm going to try to watch some of it.
Yeah, I'll watch a bit of it and see if it catches catches on for me. Let me know in the chat. Are you guys going to watch? Is anyone in the chat watching XFL? Do you have a team? I am a Sea Dragon by birth because that's my city where I'm from, a Seattle Sea Dragon, I guess. But does Denver have a team?
No. DC, I used to live not far from DC, so maybe the DC Defenders.
The Defenders. I hear they're going to be good. I hear the Guardians are going to be good. I don't know. But we'll see. Hopefully it does well. But we'll have to see. I think that does it for us, though. Before we go, any final thoughts, Raj?
No, just check us back out on Saturday and after Elimination Chamber. Obviously, we got our Friday night podcast as well. And every Thursday at 6 Eastern.
Yeah, make sure to check that out. Follow Wrestling Inc., by the way, on social media. You'll get caught up on everything. And make sure to hit the little bell on the YouTube so that you get notified when we do these shows. I know someone in the chat had mentioned earlier that was how they found out about this show. By the way, we're doing this every Thursday now. Same time, same place. So you can always check it out. Thank you to Tommy O, M. Rouse in the house, Tuck Graff, Antoine Fair. Good to see you again. Haven't seen you on the Post-Raw show in a while, Antoine. Where you been? Baby Ice, Darius as well. Thank you, Jane Young. And Justine was there a little bit ago, and Bill and everyone else. Appreciate you guys being here. Also, Raj, where can the world find you online?
You can find me on the old Twitter machine at the Raj Giri.
And you can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. That does it for us. And make sure to tune into the After Friday show. And after Elimination Chamber, it's going to be a good one.